The unbreakable heir, a marriage of fire and ice. She was the untamed heiress, branded by rumors. He was the ruthless CEO, scarred by betrayal. Their marriage was a cold business deal, a strategic alliance. But what if a hidden past and a public challenge ignited a fire neither of them expected, melting hearts that thought they were unbreakable? If you believe love can conquer all, even the fiercest pride, hit the like button. Tell us where you're watching from in the comments. Don't miss this gripping tale of a forced marriage that defies expectations and transforms two hardened souls. Subscribe now for more unforgettable stories. In London, England, Alexander Sterling was a renowned businessman, famed for his coldness and unwavering seriousness in business. He had built an empire of hotels and casinos over the last decade. After the tragic death of his fiancée, he buried himself even deeper in his work, emotionally isolating himself from the world. He became a harsh and ruthless man, someone who never let his emotions interfere with his decisions. Alexander lived in a grand mansion on the city's outskirts, surrounded by servants who obeyed his orders without question. His only personal concern was his 5-year-old son, Michael, who, since his mother's death, had become a shy and withdrawn child. Despite his business success, Alexander was a distant father, unable to confront the pain of his loss and his son's sadness. After a series of nannies who couldn't handle Michael's difficult behavior, Alexander decided to hire a new nanny, someone who could truly care for his son while he continued expanding his business. This is how Valentina Hayes entered their lives. Valentina was a cheerful and determined young woman from a small town in rural England. With experience working with children, she accepted the challenge of caring for Michael without hesitation. She arrived at Alexander's mansion one sunny morning with a simple suitcase and a warm smile. From the moment she stepped through the door, Valentina felt the heavy atmosphere of coldness and tension that dominated the house. After meeting Alexander, Valentina soon realized he was not an easy man to deal with. He greeted her with a stern look and short words. "Be punctual, follow the house rules, and above all, do not interfere in my life or my business," Alexander said, without even looking directly at her. Valentina, however, was undeterred. She simply nodded, maintaining her smile. "Of course, Mr. Sterling. I'm here to help, and I'll do my best to care for Michael." Alexander raised an eyebrow, surprised by her confidence, but said nothing. He led her to Michael's room, where the boy sat on the floor, playing with old toys. Michael looked at Valentina with curiosity, but no emotion. "Michael, this is your new nanny, Valentina. She'll look after you while I'm away," Alexander said formally, as if announcing a new employee. Michael merely nodded, silent. Alexander watched the scene with skepticism, doubting Valentina would last long. The last nannies had quit within weeks. Michael wasn't an easy child, and Alexander didn't have time to deal with his son's emotions. But, to Alexander's surprise, Valentina not only proved competent with Michael, but also brought a little light and warmth into the house. She spoke to Michael with patience, played games, and encouraged him to go out to the garden to play. Slowly, the boy began to smile again, something Alexander hadn't seen since his wife's death. Valentina, in turn, began to realize that behind Alexander's cold, gruff exterior was something more. She saw him watching Michael from afar, with a look that mixed sadness and regret. There was a wounded man behind that steel mask, and although it wasn't her goal, Valentina felt a strange desire to get to know him better. Alexander, on the other hand, began to notice Valentina's constant presence in his home. She was different from all the other nannies. There was something about her kindness and determination that began to challenge his control over his own emotions. He tried to ignore it, but something inside him was slowly beginning to change. And so, without either of them realizing it, the first thread of an unexpected connection began to weave between the gruff boss and the young nanny, who dared to bring a little light into the darkness of his life. As the weeks passed, Valentina continued to bring changes to Michael's life and, unknowingly, to Alexander's as well. The house, once so cold and austere, began to come alive. Valentina opened windows to let in the sun, scattered toys around the garden, and even taught Michael to bake cakes in the kitchen, something that drew disapproving glances from the housekeeper, but delighted the boy. Alexander, who maintained his rigid and reclusive routine, began to notice laughter and conversations drifting from the garden while he worked in his office. He tried to focus on his business, but he found it hard to ignore Valentina's cheerful presence. One day, as he descended the stairs, he came across a scene that made him stop mid-hallway. Valentina and Michael were playing hide-and-seek. Michael was hidden behind a curtain, giggling softly, while Valentina pretended not to see him. "Where did Michael hide?" Valentina asked theatrically, spinning around the room with her hand on her forehead, as if searching. "Did he turn into a bird and fly to the sky?" Michael, unable to contain himself, burst out laughing, revealing his hiding spot. Valentina feigned surprise and ran towards him, lifting him and spinning him around. Alexander watched the scene, astonished. He couldn't remember the last time he had seen Michael so happy, and it touched something deep within him that he believed was long dormant. He felt a mix of emotions, joy at seeing his son smile, and a strange discomfort at seeing how Valentina managed to bring light into a place he had left in darkness. That night, over dinner, Alexander, for the first time, addressed Valentina directly in a less severe tone. "It seems Michael enjoys having you around," he said, avoiding her direct gaze. Valentina, surprised by the comment, smiled. "Michael is a wonderful boy. He just needed a little attention and love, like any child." Alexander remained silent for a moment, picking at his food. He wasn't used to talking about feelings, especially his own. "Thank you for that," he murmured, not looking up. Valentina smiled again, noticing Alexander's attempt to be more human, more approachable. "You don't need to thank me, Mr. Sterling. Michael is special, and I'm happy to help him." Michael, sitting between them, looked from one to the other, as if realizing something different was happening. Alexander looked at his son, and saw for the first time in a long time a spark of happiness in his eyes. And somehow, that made him feel something he couldn't name. In the following days, Alexander began to pay more attention to Valentina. He observed the patience she had with Michael, how she handled the boy's tantrums with a tranquility he himself couldn't maintain. And every day, he felt more intrigued by this woman who, with her simplicity and kindness, was changing his home, and perhaps even his heart. One afternoon, while Valentina and Michael were having a picnic in the garden, Alexander decided to join them, a gesture that surprised both of them. He sat beside Michael, who was excited about the sandwiches Valentina had made. "Daddy, look," Michael said, beaming. "Valentina made your favorite sandwiches." Alexander smiled, taking a sandwich. "Yes, I see she's full of surprises." Valentina looked at Alexander and noticed a subtle change in his expression. He seemed more relaxed, more open, and that gave her hope that perhaps she could help not only Michael, but also Alexander find some peace. "It's good to see you enjoying your time with Michael," Valentina commented with a soft smile. Alexander looked at her, a little disconcerted. "Yes, I think maybe I need that too," he admitted, almost in a whisper. And so, a new routine began to establish itself. Alexander found himself making excuses to spend more time with Valentina and Michael, and every day felt like a small step towards something he didn't fully understand, but which he was beginning to deeply desire. Alexander's coldness was beginning to melt, and he knew the cause was clear. Valentina. What he didn't know was how to face it, how to allow himself to feel something he had repressed for so long. But one thing was certain, he could no longer ignore what was beginning to grow inside him. What do you think Alexander will finally break through his emotional walls? What challenges might lie ahead for him and Valentina? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're intrigued by this unconventional love story, hit the like button and subscribe for more chapters. As time passed, Valentina's presence in the mansion continued to profoundly impact both Michael and Alexander. Michael was becoming a more open and happy child, something Alexander never believed possible. He was beginning to realize that perhaps there was something Valentina could do that he, as a father, had never been able to. Meanwhile, Alexander felt increasingly drawn to Valentina. It wasn't just the way she cared for Michael, but also the lightness she brought to the house. He began to yearn for her smiles and the sound of her laughter. However, every time he felt himself getting too close, Alexander retreated, as if afraid of giving up the control he had over his emotions. One afternoon, while Alexander was in his office dealing with a pile of documents, Valentina entered holding Michael's hand. The boy seemed eager to talk to his father. "Daddy, can I show you something?" Michael asked, his eyes gleaming with enthusiasm. Alexander looked up from his paperwork and saw Michael smile, a smile he hadn't seen in a long time. He leaned back in his chair and gestured for them to come closer. "Of course, what is it?" he asked, trying to sound more interested than he actually was. Michael pushed Valentina forward. "Valentina and I made you a drawing," he exclaimed, handing him a sheet of paper with a colorful family portrait. Michael, Alexander, and Valentina, all holding hands. Alexander took the drawing. For a moment, his heart sank. The image was simple but laden with meaning. He looked at Valentina, who was observing his reaction with an encouraging smile. It's beautiful, Michael. Very beautiful," Alexander said, trying to keep his voice steady. Michael smiled, happy. "Valentina helped me. She said you'd like it." Alexander felt a mix of emotions. There was something about Valentina that made him want to open up, but it also scared him. He was used to controlling everything around him, and the feelings she stirred in him were unpredictable. That night, Alexander went to bed earlier than usual. He lay down and closed his eyes, but sleep wouldn't come. Instead, he found himself thinking about Valentina, about how her presence had begun to change everything. And the more he thought about her, the more he felt a growing need to get closer, to understand her. However, the fear of being hurt again still held him back. He had lost his wife, and with her, a part of himself. Opening his heart to Valentina meant facing all his fears and insecurities, something he wasn't sure he was ready to do. In the following days, Alexander began to test the limits of this new dynamic. He observed Valentina more closely, looking for flaws, something that could justify the distance he wanted to maintain. But the more he looked, the more he felt drawn to her kindness and patience. One morning, over breakfast, Alexander decided to ask Valentina about her life before working for him. He was curious. He wanted to know more about this woman who so intrigued him. "Valentina, I never asked. What brought you to London?" he asked, trying to sound casual. Valentina looked at him, surprised by the question. "Well, I came from the countryside. My family is from a small village, but I wanted something more. I wanted to see the world, have new opportunities. Alexander nodded, interested. And why did you choose to work as a nanny? Valentina smiled softly. Because I love children. I love the way they see the world, how sincere and unjudgmental they are. And I believe that, in a way, caring for them is a way to help shape a better future. Alexander was silent for a moment, impressed by her answer. There was so much simplicity and depth at the same time. He felt even more drawn to her, but he also realized he was treading dangerous territory. He wasn't sure he was ready to face his own feelings or hers. That night, after putting Michael to bed, Valentina was in the garden, looking at the starry sky. Alexander watched her from afar, debating whether or not to approach. Something in him wanted to talk to her, to open up, but fear kept him trapped. Finally, he made a decision. He approached slowly and stopped beside her. Valentina turned, surprised to see him there. Alexander, is everything all right? She asked, a little nervous. Alexander looked at her, trying to find the right words. Valentina, I wanted to thank you for everything you've done for Michael. He seems so happy with you around. Valentina smiled, touched by the sincerity in his voice. Michael is an incredible boy, and you're a good father too, Alexander. He just needs you. Alexander felt a tightness in his chest. He knew Valentina was right, but the pain of his past still cast a shadow over him. I'm not as good as you think, Valentina. There are many things about me you don't know, he confessed, with a somber look. Valentina looked deeply into his eyes. We all have a past, Alexander. What matters is what we choose to do now. And with those words, something inside Alexander began to shift. For the first time in a long time, he felt that perhaps it would be possible to find a way out of the darkness that enveloped him. And, without realizing it, he began to fall in love with Valentina, the woman who dared to challenge his closed, emotionless world. What new challenge will put Alexander and Valentina's relationship to the test? How will Michael react to this unexpected hurdle? Share your predictions in the comments. And if you're eager for the next chapter, hit the like button and subscribe for more. Since the kiss, something invisible but intense settled between them. They didn't talk about what they felt, but they didn't deny it either. Daniel came down earlier. April stayed a few minutes longer. Emma, without fully knowing it, seemed to notice, looking at them with curiosity, as if learning to read what happens between two people who still haven't dared to say, I love you. One afternoon, while painting with tempera, Emma said, Will you stay forever, April? April put down her paintbrush. I don't know, little one, but if you ask me like that, it makes me really want to say yes. Daddy smiles more when you're here. He does? And so do I. That day, April returned home with a full heart and her doubts more awake than ever. Daniel was not one for idle talk. But with April, his silences transformed into confessions. One night, as she prepared a cup of tea in the kitchen, he leaned against the door. Lucy and I were fighting the night of the accident. April turned, surprised by the suddenness of the statement. It was a silly argument. She was accusing me of not looking at her the same way anymore, that I was becoming distant, empty. She left alone, angry. I didn't follow her, and you were never the same again. Since then, I feel that if I allow myself to love again, I'll be betraying her. And what do you feel when you're with me? Fear, but also a desire to start over. April approached. She took his hand and said nothing, because she understood that sometimes what heals isn't words, it's presence. But what is built slowly can also tremble with a single crack. One morning, while Emma slept and that April tidied the living room, A stern-faced woman appeared at the door, elegantly dressed and with a judging gaze. "Are you the nanny?" "Yes, I'm Victoria Davies, Daniel's sister." April straightened. "Nice to meet you." "I don't think so. I came because I know exactly what's going on. You don't understand. Do you know what you'll ruin if you stay close to him? Everything. This family's image, Emma's safety, the little emotional stability Daniel has managed to rebuild. I'm not doing any harm or looking for anything. Of course you are. Everyone who comes from below does. They seek to climb by clinging to someone. I don't need to cling to anyone. And I didn't come to climb. I came to care. For Emma and for him." Victoria looked at her with disdain. "Be careful, because in this world, those who arrive without permission also leave without notice." And she left. Daniel didn't know about the encounter until 2 days later. April didn't tell him. Not because she wanted to hide it, but because she was afraid of becoming a burden. But the discomfort grew. She became quieter, more contained, more distant. Emma noticed. "April doesn't sing me songs at night anymore. She says she's tired, but I know she's sad." That night, while April was putting away toys, Daniel confronted her. "What's wrong?" "Nothing. You're a bad liar. I don't want to ruin the little we've built." "Ruin what? Your family already thinks I don't deserve to be here, that I'm a threat, that I'm just after your name." Daniel fell silent. She looked at him with glistening eyes. "And I just wanted to give you peace, never noise." "Did Victoria talk to you?" "Yes." "And why didn't you tell me?" "Because I'm afraid that what she says deep down, you also think." Daniel took a step towards her. "April, there isn't a single word that came out of her mouth that I share. But if you stay silent out of fear, then you're not letting me take care of you the way I want. I'm not used to someone taking care of me. Then let's learn together." But the damage was already done. April needed space, and she said it. "I need to leave for a few days, to think, to know if this can survive everything around us." "And Emma? It kills me to leave her, but I don't want to stay halfway. I want to truly be here, or not at all." Daniel understood, though it pained him. "I'll wait for you, and if you don't come back, then I'll know it was real while it lasted. But I'll continue to believe that what started between us deserves more than a pause out of fear." April left that same night. She didn't say goodbye to Emma. She only left her a letter with drawings, an envelope full of colors, and a promise written in shaky handwriting. "I'm not leaving. I'm learning to come back." Daniel was left alone, with his daughter, with the absence, with the memory of a woman who had arrived as a nanny and had become the only point of light his life knew. That night, he didn't sleep. And at dawn, for the first time in years, he wrote something that wasn't part of a report. "If she comes back, I won't let her go again." Will April return to Daniel and Emma? How will this separation strengthen or weaken their bond? Share your hopes and predictions in the comments. And if you're holding your breath for their reunion, hit the like button and subscribe for the next chapter. The days without April were long, especially for Emma. The girl asked for her upon waking, before sleeping, upon seeing something that reminded her of April's voice. She didn't cry. She didn't throw tantrums. She just looked down and mumbled, "April isn't here." Daniel tried to fill that void, but he knew it wasn't the same. He told her stories, took her to the park, even baked star-shaped cookies. Emma smiled politely, grateful, but empty. One night, as he tucked her in, Emma whispered, "Daddy, why did April leave?" Daniel swallowed. Sometimes people need to step away to understand if they're ready to stay. And do you want her to stay? More than anything." Emma nodded, and before closing her eyes, she said, "Then don't leave her alone." April, meanwhile, was at her mother's house in Nottingham. She had brought few things, but her heart was full. Full of questions, fears, memories that haunted her even when she tried not to think about them. Her mother watched her without pressing. She offered coffee. Silence. Time. "Are you running away?" she asked one night. "I'm trying to understand if that was love or just a refuge." And every time Emma draws in my mind, I feel it wasn't a refuge. It was a home. Then go back. What if he's not waiting for me anymore? People who truly love don't close the door that easily. Daniel wrote a letter. Not a text message. Not an email. A letter. By hand. Like he hadn't written in years. "April, I don't have exact words, but I have truth. Emma misses you. And so do I. This house has no light without you. Not because you illuminate it, but because you taught us to see with different eyes. I want you to come back, but not to babysit, not to teach. I want you to come back to stay if that's what you want, not as a nanny, as part of what I now understand love to be." He signed it, not with his last name, just with his name. He sent it by hand, and he waited. April read it at dusk, sitting in her childhood backyard. She read each line as if it whispered in her ear. She cried, and she wrote a reply. "Daniel, I don't know if I'm ready, but I know it hurts more not to try than to be wrong with you. I don't know if love is enough, but if you need me, I'm one step away. Just promise me that if I come back, I won't feel like a shadow in your story again." She sealed it. She sent it. Not as a condition, as a promise. When Daniel read the letter, he didn't hesitate. He called Julian, his chauffeur. "We're going to Nottingham." Emma saw him getting ready. "Where are you going?" "To find a missing piece of our home." The girl didn't fully understand, but she hugged him tightly. "Bring her back." April saw him arrive from the window. It wasn't a movie scene. There were no flowers, no music, just two people face to face, without titles, without barriers. "Are you ready?" he asked. "Not entirely." "Do you want to try?" "Yes." They hugged, tightly, like someone who fell and gets back on their feet. Upon arriving at the mansion, Emma ran out. "April!" She threw herself into her arms. She cried, and for the first time she said, "I missed you, like you left my heart in half." April held her without saying anything, because that was enough. That was everything. That night, the three of them ate together. Not in the grand dining room, in the kitchen. Laughing. Talking. Like family. Later, with Emma asleep, April and Daniel remained in the living room. "Are you still the man who doesn't believe in second chances?" she asked. "No. Now I'm the one who learned that some people only come once, and if you let them go, they don't come back. I came back, and I'm not going to let you go again." They kissed. Slowly, truly, without doubts, and without need for eternal promises. Just a real present. Before sleeping, April left her bag by the entrance. She knew there was no need to unpack everything immediately, but that simple gesture, it already said she was ready to stay. What new joy awaits April, Daniel, and Emma as they build their life together? What surprising turns will their family's journey take? Share your excitement in the comments, and if you're loving their story, hit the like button and subscribe for more chapters of their life. The days after April's return were different, not because of grand gestures, but because of new details. Daniel began leaving notes in the kitchen. Emma laughed louder, and April left books open in the living room, as if the house no longer needed permission to feel like hers. Every night, as she lay down, April looked at the ceiling with an unfamiliar feeling. Stability. What are you thinking? Daniel asked her one of those nights. That if this is calm, now I understand why so many seek it. And if it disappears, then we build it again, but this time, together. Daniel's company continued to operate without his constant presence as before. He had delegated duties, decided to prioritize his time with Emma, and now, with April. When I stopped running, I realized I didn't know what I was running for, he told her one afternoon while they cooked together. And now I run to come home. Emma was 6 years old, with the lucidity of a child who learned to grow with silences. One afternoon, while drawing, she said, "What are families?" April, sitting across from her, thought for a moment. People who choose each other every day, who care for each other even when they disagree, who wait for each other, hug each other, and remember each other. Emma looked up. Then we are one. Daniel and April didn't talk about rings or dates. They didn't make plans with names of the future. But every gesture spoke more than any promise. Until one afternoon, something changed. April felt strange. Nausea, dizziness, a missed period. She thought it was stress, the change, rebuilding an entire life. But something wasn't right. She bought a test, hid it in her bag, took it without saying anything, waited the longest minutes of her life. And there it was. 2 lines. Positive. The news hit her like a warm wave. It wasn't pure fear, but not certainty either. She sat on the bed. And now, she didn't know if she was ready. She didn't know if he was. But she knew one thing. It wasn't just her anymore. It took her 2 days to say it. Daniel noticed. "Are you okay?" "Yes, just tired." "Are you going inward again?" April smiled. "Not this time. I'm just waiting for the right moment to talk. Then when you're ready, I will be too." That night, while Emma slept, she told him, "I'm pregnant." Silence. Daniel looked at her, unmoving. "Are you sure?" "Yes. I checked twice. And how do you feel?" "I don't know. Confused. Scared. Happy. All at once. Do you think I won't want it? I think maybe this will unravel you, that it will confront you with things you weren't looking for." Daniel approached. "The only thing that has unraveled me in this life was loss. This is its opposite. It's life. It's future. Doesn't it scare you?" "Of course it scares me. But I'd be more scared not to have the chance to do it with you." The next day, they went to the doctor together. First ultrasound. Heartbeat. A small shape floating on the screen. A dot of light in the middle of the universe. April cried. Daniel held her hand. "I swear I won't disappear." "You don't need to swear. You're already here." When they told Emma, they did it with drawings. 3 people, and one more, small, in April's hands. Emma looked at them, serious. "Am I going to be a sister?" "Yes," they both said at once. "And will you still hug me the same way?" Daniel picked her up. "More than ever." Emma smiled and asked to choose the name. In the following days, April began to feel her body transform. "I don't recognize myself in the mirror," she said one night. "You're beautiful. Don't just say that because you have to. I'm not saying it for you. I'm saying it for me, because seeing you like this, it moves me." But not everything was easy. Victoria, Daniel's sister, reappeared, this time with a graver tone. "So now you're going to have another child? With a woman who has no family name or inheritance? With a woman who gave me back my life? With a woman who chose to stay, even when everything pushed her away? And Emma? What do you think will happen to her when she realizes you're replacing her mother with another? Emma chose April before anyone else, and you no longer have a place in our decisions. Victoria looked at him coldly. You're making a mistake. Or perhaps I'm finally doing something that makes sense. That night, Daniel didn't tell April anything, but she sensed it. Did she say anything that made you think? Nothing worth repeating. She just reminded me who no longer has power over me. Then that's a win. In the 4th month, they started setting up the baby's room. Emma painted stars on the walls. Daniel assembled a crib with his own hands, even if the result wasn't perfect. April wrote on a piece of paper, "This family was built without a plan, but with real love." She taped it to the door. It was their declaration of existence. One night, as rain lashed against the windows, Daniel asked her, "Do you think we're ready?" "No, but whoever is." "Then, shall we keep trying?" "Until trying drowns." They hugged, and this time, not out of fear, but out of certainty. The 5th month brought visible changes. April walked slower. Emma took charge of handing her shoes, books, cravings. "The baby's going to have 2 moms," she'd say proudly, "one with a belly and one with drawings." Daniel, meanwhile, didn't let a day pass without touching her belly and talking to the baby. "I'm your dad. I'm not perfect, but I've learned to stay when it matters most." April listened from the sofa and cried in silence. Not out of fear, out of gratitude. Lucy's family didn't bother them again. After the hearing, they retreated like someone losing a war that should never have started. Victoria, Daniel's sister, sent a short message. "I don't understand it, but if you're happy, it's fine." He didn't reply. He just showed the message to April and said, "I don't need her approval anymore. With you and Emma, I have everything that matters." One Sunday morning, while cooking together, Emma asked, "What if the baby doesn't like me?" April knelt down and caressed her cheek. "That's impossible, because it will know you before it's born. It will hear your voice. It will say you were the one who waited for it with the most excitement. What if it gets angry because I have a mom, and he doesn't?" Daniel approached and knelt beside her. "You also lost a mom, but you gained another form of love, and this baby will be lucky enough to grow up surrounded by that." Emma smiled, and that smile was the perfect ending to a conversation no other family would have known how to have with such honesty. April began writing letters to the baby, small ones, dated, with unfiltered emotions. "Today I heard your heart, and I understood that there are sounds that heal what the past left open. Today I cried, not because something is wrong, but because I'm learning to live without fear. Your sister has already chosen you, your dad too, and I just hope to give you everything I once dreamed for myself." She kept them in a box. She called it the welcome box. In week 30, April went for a routine checkup, but doctors detected high blood pressure. "We'll monitor closely. There might be a risk of preeclampsia," the obstetrician said. Daniel was with her. He didn't let go for a second. "It's fine," she said, her voice calm. "We just have to be more careful. Now I'll take care of you, like never before." The order was clear. Absolute bed rest. And there they were, the 3 of them. April in bed, Emma reading stories to her, Daniel cooking with clumsy instructions. "Does this take salt or sugar?" he'd ask from the kitchen. "That's rice, Daniel," April would reply, laughing. "It doesn't take either in that quantity." Every night was a ritual. Emma would put her hand on the belly. "Good night, brother or sister. Sleep peacefully. We're waiting for you with love." Daniel would turn off the lights. April would close her eyes. And so, a house that was once cold and silent became a sanctuary. At exactly 36 weeks, April woke up with a different sensation. Slight pain. Pressure. "Daniel, I think it's happening." He sat up immediately. "Contractions." Yes, but they're still irregular. Shall we go to the hospital? She nodded. Emma, still asleep, was left with Clara, the neighbor and trusted friend. Are you nervous? April asked in the car. No, I'm complete. Labor was long, 12 hours, guided breaths, tears, silences, waiting. Daniel didn't move. He held her hand. He kissed her forehead. He helped her cry. It's a girl, the nurse said. Are they both okay? Daniel asked, trembling. Perfectly. April couldn't speak. She just looked at her. Small, red, alive. Daniel picked her up and understood that he wasn't just meeting his daughter. He was meeting a new version of himself. That night, with the baby asleep on her chest, April whispered, I didn't imagine this moment. Not like this. And how did you imagine it? Alone, fighting, scared, and now? Now I feel at home. Daniel caressed her hair. Welcome home, to our family, to the life we chose without knowing we deserved it. The sun came in through the bedroom window, warm, silent, as if it knew a new life slept within. April held her daughter to her chest, her eyes closed, her breathing steady. Daniel was beside her, with his hand on her waist, like someone guarding something precious without squeezing too tightly. I never thought something simple could be so beautiful, he whispered, without opening his eyes. I never thought I deserved it, she replied. And now that you have it, what will you do? Cherish it, like I cherish what I took so long to understand was mine. They returned home 2 days later. Emma was waiting with a drawing taped to the door. Welcome, sister. We already love you. Daniel read it with glistening eyes. She's understanding things many adults take decades to accept. Perhaps because she's already experienced loss, and she knows what it means to gain love again. The girl was named Leah, by Emma's decision. It's short, it's sweet, and it sounds like something that's always been with us. April didn't argue. She knew it the first time she heard it. That was her name. The house changed again. It was no longer silent. There were cries, diapers, bottles, sleepless nights. And yet, it was more of a home than ever. One night, April was alone in the kitchen while the others slept. She opened her notebook and wrote, I survived the days I thought I'd break, and amidst the exhaustion, the chaos, I found love, not from a movie, but the kind that stays when everything seems too much. I have a man who learned to feel without hiding, a daughter who learned to laugh again, another who just arrived, and a version of myself I can finally embrace without fear. Daniel began working from home. I don't want to lose this, he'd say, while rocking Leah in his arms. I lost too much living for meetings. Now I live for this moment. And you don't regret giving up who you were? April, who I was, I don't miss. One Saturday afternoon, they hosted a picnic in the garden. Clara, Julian, some neighbors, even the lawyer who helped them at the hearing. Emma ran around with Leah in a custom-made wrap. April served lemonade. Daniel grilled toast as if he were a chef. Is this happiness? Clara asked, laughing. I don't know, April said, but it looks a lot like it. A week later, in a gesture without a date or ceremony, they legally married. They signed papers at the civil registry. Emma was a witness. Leah slept the whole time. Do you want to have a party? Daniel asked. I don't need more witnesses. We live it every day. Then let's celebrate with pizza and a movie, only if you let me choose. Deal. That night, after everyone was asleep, Daniel got up. He went to his study. He opened a notebook, and for the first time, wrote something just for himself. I learned that loving isn't promising that nothing will hurt. It's staying even when it hurts. She taught me that. And now that I have her, all that matters is cherishing her. He closed the notebook and returned to the bedroom. April slept with Leah in her arms, Emma on the mattress next to the bed. Daniel stood watching them and thought it had taken him too long to understand that what is real doesn't have to shout. It just stays. A month later, April received an unexpected proposal. A children's social support center wanted her to give workshops for young mothers. "We want you to inspire, to tell your story." "What if I don't know how to do it?" "You just have to tell them how you survived without stopping loving." Daniel accompanied her to the first talk. He watched her from the back of the room as she spoke. She trembled, but she didn't stop. "I didn't come from an easy story," she said. "I was a mother without a safety net. I was an employee in houses where I wasn't looked in the eye. But one day, someone saw me, heard me, chose me. And what did you do?" "I believed him. And after that, I started to believe in myself." Applause, and among them, Daniel's eyes. Full, silent, fixed on her. That night, April asked him, "Are you still surprised by what we are?" "Yes, but not because I don't believe it's possible, but because I never thought I'd live it. And now? Now I know I don't want any other life." Emma turned 7 that winter. She asked for only one thing, a photo of the 4 of them, to put in my room. That way, when I feel sad, I remember I'm part of something beautiful. The photo was taken in the garden, all hugged, messy hair, real. And below, Emma wrote in black marker, "My family doesn't look like others, but it makes me happy, and that's all that matters." April hung it in the kitchen, as a testament, as proof, that what one day began with a job, a quiet child, and a broken man, ended up being something no story could imagine. A home, made of love, of second chances, and of people who, without intending to, ended up healing together. What an incredible journey of healing, unexpected love, and the beautiful creation of a family. This story reminds us that true family is built on choice, resilience, and the courage to love. If you were touched by April, Daniel, Emma, and Leah's story, give this video a thumbs up and share it with someone who needs a dose of hope. What was your favorite moment in their inspiring journey? Let us know in the comments below. And for more uplifting and heartfelt narratives, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. We'd love to know, where in the world are you watching us from? Tell us in the comments.